Peterson, author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solo and Creative Entrepreneurs. I'm your host today on Solo Pro Radio, as I am every Wednesday morning, and I look forward to having a great discussion with another wonderful solo. But in the meantime, I just want to remind you that it's my mission to help solos, those of you in one-person businesses, understand and apply the 7 solo business principles to your enterprises so that you can find even more financially success. I hope you'll visit my website, www.bettersmarterricher.com. From there, you can download the free ebook outlining the 7 principles, sign up for the free newsletter, and join the conversation on the blog. We have quite a lively conversation going on there. Also, of course, stay tuned to this weekly radio show, which is posted on www.soloproradio.com. My guest today is Gigi Rosenberg, and Gigi is the author and a coach to visual, literary, and performing artists, entrepreneurs, and other creative people. She wrote The Artist's Guide to Grant Writing, which has been widely acclaimed in order to teach artists and writers how to win grants and fundraise creatively. She is also an in-demand presentation coach whose signature workshops, Make a Great Presentation and Give a Good Reading, have been offered through many organizations and have helped many, many creatives and artist entrepreneurs achieve greater success. Her passions are writing, performing, and teaching others to find the words and voice to bring their ideas and work into the world. Oh, that's important work, Gigi. Hello. I'm glad you're with us today.
Me too.
Good. Well, this is great. You know, this is important work that you're doing, helping people who think in pictures and colors and shapes, to gain more facility in words is a fabulous piece of work to be doing. This is important work. It's big stuff.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is.
Yes. So tell us about yourself. You know, your background, where'd you study, what's been your career path, and for heaven's sakes, what led you to do the work that you're doing today?
Well, I actually grew up in a family of visual artists, which is why I had to become a writer myself. I needed my own thing to do and my own, separate from the people in my family. And when I went to college, I went to McGill in Montreal, where when I first got there, I was a biology major, just basically because I fell in love with biology in high school because I had a fantastic teacher. But my path led me to McGill had a daily student newspaper, and I worked on that for several years, and I totally loved it. So when I left college, I had my BA, but I also had these skills and had to put together a publication. So I did all kinds of publication work. I also was really in love with filmmaking, and I eventually ended up, probably about 6 years after I graduated, getting a job with a company that made videos and films, and at that time slideshows, for all kinds of reasons, for corporate communications and fundraising. Anyway, then my husband got an opportunity he had a 1-year job in Paris, so we moved to Paris for a year. And
how too bad.
Yeah. I got to say, though, it was actually pretty challenging to be in a foreign country without a job, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it took a few months to kind of get my acting gear, but it was an incredible year. And I really had time to go back to my own creative writing, which was great. And then we moved to Portland. And then I worked on TV commercials. And, at that point, at that time, it kind of felt like I was, looking back, it all made sense. And every single thing that I did led to what I'm doing now, but at the time, I couldn't see how it was all just one part of one amazing woven thing. It seemed a little more haphazard than it does now, looking back.
Many of my radio guests tell that story, but go ahead, I'm interrupting you.
Yeah, that's okay. So I studied spiritual traditions at Marylhurst for a while. I did a lot of solo performance, and I was doing a lot of theater for a while. So it was lots of different things, but it was all in art, writing, drama. And then I started getting grants to support my own writing. And somebody said to me, "Oh my God, you should write a book about this." Now the whole publication bug, had been in my head since college and before. I love making things, and the book seemed like a wonderful wonderful thing to make. So that's how the book was born. And then once I had the book was almost like getting a PhD or, some,
yes.
or whatever.
Yes.
And then I'd already been teaching workshops before that, but then the workshops really took off and the coaching really took off. And I realized that everything I had done made me the perfect background to coach other artists in, all kinds of fields, because I've done so many different kinds of art forms that I understand, because I'm an artist also, the artist psyche. So the coaching part was perfect. And the theater part was great for coaching. I also coach business people who need to do good presentations. So it just all kind of, came together, which is great.
Isn't that fabulous? I love these stories because, as you say so well, Gigi, we can't see the path necessarily when we're moving through it.
Right.
And, we're doing a little of this and a little of that and a little of this. And then all of a sudden it's kind of like an epiphany of some sort where we begin to see the connections of all the things that we put together and we create a career out of it. And, we worry so much about not being unique in the marketplace, but no one is going to have the life experiences that you have with your insights and, your wisdom and your pathway through. I mean, there's nobody that is like you, and has done this. So now you've put it all together in a wonderful package, and you can share your wisdom and your insights and your experiences with other people. And no one can say to you, oh, you've never been in this spot, because of course you've been in that spot.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Very well said.
Yeah. So talk about your writing career. You lead with saying you're an author. So what kind of writing do you do? How's it been published, other than, your book, The Artist's Guide to Grant Writing?
For years I wrote essays and personal essays and short memoirs. And I've also written fiction. I've even, I've done, dabbled in playwriting and screenwriting. Right now, my project is a memoir. So it's all been creative writing, mostly in the memoir, personal essay. I love the personal essay form. It's really one of my absolutely favorite forms. So that's what I'm working on right now. And, I've been published in the Oregonian and Oregon Humanities Magazine and Poets and Writers Magazine and Parenting, a few national and local publications.
So talk to me about that. What exactly is a personal essay? What would that be?
A personal essay, so it's based on something that, is not fiction. It's based on something that happened to you, to the author. And what I love about the personal essay, it's kind of like taking a question and exploring it to the nth degree and coming up at the end with some deeper understanding of something. What I love about it is the path, when a personal essay is done well, the path through it can be very circuitous. And there's the mystery of how is this person going to answer and find this meaning, the secret, whatever the quest is.
Mm-hmm.
So when a personal essay is done well, it kind of reads like a mystery, and the ending is always so interesting and satisfying about how this question all came to be.
Do you ever start one without knowing what the deeper understanding and mystery at the end is going to be?
I sometimes do, although it's always something that I'm intrigued with, so I know there's going to be something there. Do you know what I mean? I'm curious about something, or something very odd happens, and I want to understand what happened. So, actually, that's the pleasure of writing the essay, is that you get to explore this thing and turn it over and over again until you really get what it means. I think you kind of, in this deep way, know what it means, but I don't think you could ever say it in the beginning. And probably if you could say it, it wouldn't be that much fun to write about it because you already knew the answer. So
that's so interesting to me. It sounds like journaling, but not in, broken sentences and, what do they call it, where you're stream of consciousness, where you're just letting the writing come, but really going through it with direction and maybe documenting an experience after you've had it, so that you are able to take others through that path with you.
Exactly. And, it may start with stream of consciousness writing, but then you shape it in such a way that no word is wasted. It's all, then you're really the artist leading your reader through this experience that's very, very honed. So you're not wasting a lot of their time in wanderings that are not going to mean something at the end.
Oh, that's just wonderful.
Yeah.
What a great way to write. What a great way to write. Actually, I'm working with a client right now at the Small Business Development Center who is selling her writing, and she's been able to pitch and sell articles to some of the wonderful, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and we're trying to articulate what makes her unique and different, and we're talking a lot about her own unique experiences and the fact that we've identified she likes to juxtapose things that appear to be quite different from one another, and find the sameness in them and write about it and talk about it. And she must be doing a lot of personal essaying.
Yeah,
I did not know that term.
That's great.
Yeah, it's very fun. So then, you talked about somebody said, hey, why don't I write a guide to grant writing, that came from your own, but is that what actually led you to write your guide for grant writing?
I just realized that I had learned a lot about how to write grants, and I really loved teaching others how to do it. So it felt very exciting to me, like I said, to make a book and put it all together. And it was such a fun book to write because I got to interview both artists and writers who'd been very successful getting grants about what led them to their success. And also I got to interview people who sit on the other side of the table and judge grants. So it's a very lively book, and it was just so much fun to have an excuse to call people and interview them and ask them nosy questions for for this greater good of writing the book. So the book is very lively, and it's filled with just lots of tips and secrets about how to really, it's more than just grant writing. It's basically how to put in writing what it is that you want to do.
Oh boy, that is fabulous. I'm going to pull out my copy and reread it because I think that a lot of people have a very hard time articulating what it is they want to do.
Yeah.
And that is a fundamental piece of that clarity is just a fundamental piece of success. Until you can say what you really want to do and what you're bringing to the world and say it succinctly and clearly, it's very hard to tap into the resources that are actually there for all of us, whether it's a grant or, an introduction or a new job or, some opportunity. That's so key. People have to be able to understand you quickly.
Absolutely. And the one thing I think people sometimes get confused about is they think, I just need to find the right words. But the truth is sometimes, and this is what I love about writing helps you think more clearly. So trying to find the right words is also a thinking process where you're defining for yourself what it is that you're even trying to say.
Yes.
It's not just finding the right word, but it's clarifying your thinking and also making some decisions about things you're not, what something isn't, and then what it is. And as I say in the book, sometimes it's great for certain people to not even begin with the writing process, but really just begin talking. Because talking can sometimes lead to a deeper understanding.
What I propose to a lot of people, because the writing is hard, is that they start exactly like you're talking about with talking. But I ask them, I say, here's what you need to do. Get a good friend who will be a catcher. And they will ask you the deep questions about your business, what it is you're working on and what your projects are and why you're doing it. But talk with a catcher, because you'll go into a zone where you're accessing your highest purpose and your needs and, your vision for what difference you can make in the world. And all of a sudden you'll become totally eloquent about it. And you'll just say these wonderful things that are in your mind, but they're not in your conscious mind. And you'll just say them. And, I've had this happen more than once. And you'll say to somebody, that was fabulous. And they'll say, what did I say? And so, because they're in the zone just talking. So I keep saying, get a catcher or get a tape recorder and record yourself so that then you can remember and pick up those words that are, the great words that you want to tell people about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I've had several people try that, and they say, oh, thank goodness I did that. It really helped me, capture the words that I wanted to use about what I'm up to.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
Yes, it does. So how is the market for grants and financial support for creatives? Are there lots of funds and lots of sources?
There are, and there's also lots of competition, which is why there's not much, there's really no room for not really, you really got to hit the mark. And even when you do hit the mark, it's still incredibly competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I always teach, don't spend all this time writing this beautiful grant application if you're also not getting a lot of other things from it. So that even if you don't get the funding, you've still got something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Writing that application is going to take time away from all the other things you do, including your creative work.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that, since it is so competitive, you've got to make sure that at the end you've got that, the new resume, the new artist statement, a beautiful, statement of what project you want to do, an idea for what, other ways you can get funding, so that it catapults you forward no matter what someone else's decision is. So,
that's good advice.
Yeah.
That's really great advice.
Yeah.
So I know that you've moved on to teaching people the same skills in business. Is that right? That you're teaching business people also?
The business people I teach them really one specific thing, which is how to give a good presentation. It could be that they're presenting to a group of employees, or they're presenting to the board of directors, or they're even having a one-on-one presentation with either their boss or someone who works for them. It's some kind of, communication, oral communication.
Okay. And how is that going? How is that working for you in your business?
It's good, and it really comes down to two different things. We get together, and usually they come in because they've got something coming up, and that's really the best time to come and see me. Because the truth is, if people aren't having a problem, they're not going to just say, "Hey, I've been thinking about working on my presentations in general." So it's great when they come with something that's coming up. And then often they're PowerPoint presentations, so we go over their slides, and usually they've got way too many words and bullet points and all kinds of stuff. So we work on, as much as we can, within the limits of what the rules might be of their company, how to make the PowerPoint really support them. So this is not just a thing about PowerPoint slides, it's about their presentation. And then we work on the order, and it's funny, it's almost like telling, it is like telling a story. What makes sense to open? How do we continue? How do we close? And usually it's a process of really simplifying and being really clear on where you want the audience. And really, like I think about when I do personal essays, where I want my reader to be at the end.
Right.
When we work on that part, then it's almost like once they have their script done and it really makes sense to them, and the transitions are working between, the open, the middle, and the end, then it becomes a little performance. So the person gets up there, and we talk about all kinds of things, where to stand, and where the PowerPoint should be, and the choreography, and how the room is. It's almost like putting on a little. It is like putting on a little performance.
It is.
Yeah.
A one-person play, if you will.
One-person play, exactly.
So that's great.
It's really fun.
I would think the business owners would love that.
Yeah, it's really, and it's so needed, as you know. Most presentations we see on a daily basis are horrible.
Yes. Yes.
So, and the other thing is, people are better presenters than they think they are. It's like, even when you go in and return something, like you bought something and want to go return it. When you go return it, you're giving a little presentation. So all of us have these skills, and just remembering we have those when it's more formal situations.
Isn't that funny? I hadn't thought of that. So, in a way, you're saying any of these interactions, you really need to be on. You can't be just on drift. You have to be aware. You have to be paying attention to yourself. You have to be self-aware. You have to be aware of the other person. You have to watch the impact that your words are having on the person, and the impact that you are having on them. So we don't get to just zone out.
Well, the thing is, rehearsal is really important. Just so you're what you need to say is really there, because it's not a stream of consciousness. Most of them are not a stream of consciousness, even though sometimes the bad ones seem like they are. Just because the person's kind of figuring out in front of us what they're talking about. So all that work needs to be done ahead of time. Then once you know what you're saying, then you have the presence of mind and the time to notice your audience, which is the big part. But if you don't rehearse, you'll you'll just be spending your whole time figuring it out on the fly, and really it's hard to really notice your audience when it's too much multitasking for one human being to do.
Yes, yes. Wow, what a great set of skills that you are bringing to people, and a whole bunch of awareness. They must just be thrilled. So back to the artists. So what are three main things you teach artists looking for funding? So what are the three things they have to do, if you can break it down that way?
The one big thing is to really know what they want and what their project is. Because a lot of times artists will come to me, and this happens so often, and they say, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a weaver, I'm a photographer, they just have so many things that they do, and so many different projects they want to do. So often when I coach one-on-one, the first session is sometimes just spent getting all the projects down and then really deciding which is the most important one, not to, that they won't do the other ones, but just to do first, which are the kind of the top three. Because the other thing is you can have a few projects going at once, because sometimes certain projects are dormant, or the first few steps are going to not really take that much time. So that's the big thing, is really knowing what it is. And the second thing is to really make sure you're a good match for whoever has the funding. So I was just coaching someone recently who had a lot of different ideas about what they wanted to do. And I said, there's a grant coming up that I know about that pays for this, a certain kind of thing. So why don't you call the organization and talk about all the different things you have going, and let them help you pick which one is the best match for them. And they did that, and they came up with a grant that was really a good match. So that match piece is really important, because often the money that's out there is to pay for a certain kind of activity. Could be a project, could be a trip, could be a mural, could be something. So it's very annoying, as I'm sure you can imagine, to the people with the money if, they only pay for murals and you're asking to do something else,
Yeah, yeah.
So the good match is key. And
yes.
then then once you're writing the application the funders are not going to, they're not going to look at it. You've got to do all the work for them. Explain why you're a good match. Remind them what their mission is and how this meets the mission. So it really is to explain it so that not only can they understand it, but they can also get really excited about it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. That's good advice, listeners. I hope you're paying attention. So let's talk about the book publishing for a minute. I have a client right now who is got a whole online self-publishing program, and we were talking about the growth coming in that, because so many people are starting solo businesses. This is a very fast-growing business model, and a basic piece of a solo business is your manifesto or your book or your philosophical approach, or, where you are writing about what it is that makes you different and why people should be working with you. So books are a big deal right now, particularly self-published books. But it looks like you took another route with your book. Do you want to talk about that? I mean, how is it to work with a publisher?
So just to let you know what I did, once I got the idea that I wanted to write the book, the first step of that process, I bought this other book called How to Write a Book Proposal by Michael Larson. There's a few out there that are good. That just happens to be the one I used, and I really liked it. And I wrote a book proposal, which I think anybody who wants to write a book, I'd say even especially a self-published book, but really both, should really write a proposal about what the book is going to be about, because that'll be your map once you write the book. And it'll force you to do your to really put a marketing plan together and a whole lot of other great things. So it's a great exercise. And the other thing about grants and writing book proposals is somebody through that process, they'll figure out what the book is really going to be about and what it's really going to offer a reader. But the other thing great about writing down your ideas is sometimes when you really flesh them out, you realize you don't want to do them. So I'd rather write a proposal for something and then think, God, I don't want to do this. I don't want to write this book now that I realize what it's about. Before you put it or out there, you want to make that discovery as early in the process as possible. So I did that, and that proved to me that there wasn't another book like this out there, because part of the homework you have capacity to write a proposal is to find out what other books like the one you want to write is out there. And there wasn't. So that was super exciting for me. So it's another gift I learned, because that can give you a lot of energy just in the marketing and stuff. So I did that, and then what I just decided to do is I decided I'm going to look for a publisher, but if I don't find one, I'll self-publish it. So that was a good thing for me to say to myself, because then I felt like all the work I was doing on the book would be wasted if I couldn't find a publisher, you know. And so I was able to find a publisher. You know, it's Watson Guptill published it, and they're a division of Random House. And I decided to go that route, and it actually ended up being a great way for me to go. And, you know, I know that people have a lot of horror stories about working with publishers, especially big ones. But I really lucked out, and the way I lucked out is I got assigned a great editor. So it was someone to work with me on, you know, really designing how this book, you know, what the chapters would be, and, you know, fleshing out each chapter and all that kind of stuff. So that was great. The other thing that happened is I got a great designer for the book cover, and I got a gorgeous designer for the inside pages. And I really had no control over that at all. And you know, some people hate their cover and they hate the design, and it's a horrible experience. I had a great experience.
Oh, that's great.
So that was really great. And then the other thing that was great is, for me, it was so much easier for me to market myself and my workshops when I said the book was published by Random House. You know, it's like having a degree from Harvard, or just something that people are like, oh, well, she must be good because, you know, she got this book. Now, everyone knows that's not really true. Big publishers publish horrible books. So I used that. It was like a ticket to get other things.
Oh, that's so good. Good wisdom. Go ahead.
And
now it's in its second printing.
Yeah, so it's sold well, but I got to say, you know, I've done all the marketing, not all of it myself, but because they were supportive somewhat. But, you know, they didn't send me on a book tour, and, you know, they sent me posters and postcards, and I did have someone to talk to if I had questions, which is great. I still had to really do all the marketing myself. The other thing is, when someone self-publishes, they're going to make a lot more money on the books. You know, per book, authors really hardly make any money.
Right.
So financially, you can do better. But I just decided that this book was going to be a ticket for me to find workshops and speaking gigs and all kinds of other stuff like that. So I don't think it's the only way to go, and I did have a really good experience doing it.
As you said, Gigi, that's unusual. Not everybody does, and so it's really great. And it must have, well, a lot to do with you, but it also probably has a lot to do with the topic where you were talking about at the right moment, and, you know, the right time when, you know, there's a growth and awareness of how important the creatives are to our economy, to our society, to our strength and position in the world. So, you know, you must have had a lot of things come together at the right time, and then they said, oh my goodness, look at this, she can write. And
right.
Not only can she write, she's willing to do her research, and she makes sense.
Right. And you know, getting a good cover, you know, and I love the inside design, you know. So that was just really, I got lucky and got assigned someone who was really, really good, you know.
Oh, that's fabulous. So how do you market and sell the book now?
You know, I pretty much do a little bit every day. It's become, you know, like, so I'm always just looking out there. But this is the great thing about writing a how-to book as your first book, because, you know, writing a novel or a memoir, you need to do the same thing I'm about to describe, but for some reason with a how-to book, it's just easier, because I'm always out there thinking, who is this book speaking to? Who are the audiences that are dying to read this book? Which is the same thing you really need to do with you know, a novel or a memoir as well. Just because for some reason it's harder for authors to do that. So I'm always out there doing that, and it's just a variety of different ways. You know, I have a newsletter that comes out once a month. I have a blog, and, you know, the content of both those support what's in the book and actually take it even a little bit further. I'm always sending the book out for people who are reviewing books or purchasing books for classes or whatever. Just always trying to find, you know, like I said, who are the people out there that this book is just totally perfect for.
Oh, that's great. So it's quite a bit of work.
Oh my God, it is. And you know, the thing is, I enjoy the marketing piece. Just to do the writing is just too isolated. So I love the balance of, if I was always marketing, I wouldn't like it, and if I was always in isolation writing, I wouldn't like it. So both really feed each other. So that's, for me, that's a great combo.
So it sounds like you're another one of the newly rising paradigm that we're seeing, the ambidextrous brain. Not left brain, not right brain, but you're ambidextrous. One of my clients coined that phrase, and I like it a lot, and I can see it happening a lot.
Yeah.
That we're moving towards the middle.
Right.
So do you find that a lot of creatives have a hard time of thinking of themselves as a business?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, when we talk in the beginning, and I even just mentioned, okay, you got to set up a checking account that's just for business stuff. I can see they go, oh my God, of course I do, and there's this excitement in thinking of it as a business.
Mm-hmm.
But I think artists go into art. I mean, none of us went into it because they thought, oh, this is a great way to make a living. It was a much different and deeper calling,
Yeah.
So it is a different mindset to start thinking of it as, and the truth is, some people, I think they should just keep it their calling and maybe do something else for their business, because it does change your relationship with what you're doing when you make it a business. But also some people have parts of the art that are business, and then other art things they're doing. They're just doing it because they want to be doing it. So everyone needs to find their own balance with that.
Yeah. I find that, my message, like yours, well, one of yours, keeps being, you can make a living doing what you love, but there are some things that you need to do if you're going to do that.
Right.
And that's quite enlightening to a lot of people who it's never occurred to them that they can make a living doing what they love, and they're almost incredulous, going, well, I always thought your work was your work, and then what you really loved was what you did in your spare time. Say, it doesn't have to be that way.
Exactly.
There's some things that you have to do, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
They're going, yeah sure. So that's interesting. So do you think that that creativity and art are more appreciated today than they were in the past? Are more people stepping forward to follow a creative career?
I'm not sure. I know that more people in general are, it feels like, and maybe this is just Portland, I don't know, but it feels like more people are open to doing creative things in their life. I know when I was growing up, we were like the artsy family, and it seems like now there's more artsy things happening just in the course of people's daily life. Although, now that I say that, I'm thinking about schools, and certainly, I went to public school in Queens, New York, and we had a full-time art teacher and an amazing art program, and I had one in high school as well. This is in public school. And I'm thinking now, public school, the art is almost non-existent in some schools, or non-existent in some schools.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. I think on which
we've in all the budget cuts that have happened in education, we've eliminated the non-essentials, and there's certainly a lot of people who are saying, what do you mean this is non-essential? Think of how we look at past civilizations and what they did. What do we look for? We look at the art and the various sculptures and paintings and, the jewelry and the crafts that they left behind, and we think about their civilization by looking at that. That's what we revere. That's what we care about. What do you mean this isn't important? We care about the music. We care about the beauty that they created. And that's what we're letting go of in these budget crises that we're having in education. And I know there's quite a move of people that say we have to bring this art back one way or another.
Right.
And, I don't know. I as I say, I'm like you. I don't know whether it's generally or just in Portland that so many people are into the creative roles. Yeah. As I say, I also know a lot of people that are not thinking their art will ever support them. And I think you are providing a path that they can do that. You know, they can find the grants for the projects. They can find the money that they're looking for. They can find the confidence to present their work and to speak about it well.
Yeah. I think that's really what it is. Exactly what you just said. It's honing in on what it is and then marketing it well.
Yeah. So you're doing a lot of coaching with writers and artists and with business people, and what areas do you find that all of your coaching clients, whether they're businesses or artists, need the most help with?
Well, I think the first thing is, like I said before, especially the artists come with too many projects and too many ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone I coach has that problem. No, that's not really true, but most do.
Mm-hmm.
They just have too many things on the list. So this is what's great about working with another human being is when you talk through your list, I can just tell by the look on your face which projects you're really excited about and which ones you can drop. But then I ask you what you think, and then I just reflect back. When you were talking about the book, you were like really excited, but then when you were talking about the proposal for the film, just suddenly everything just got heavy. And it's so interesting to, it's partially what they say, but it's also how they look saying it, which I would miss if they just put everything in writing, So it's the too many ideas thing is the first one. And also a lot of them come in and they need so much to do with the marketing stuff. Like, for example, having a mailing list, they don't have one, or it's extremely disorganized. And so really what we do then is kind of make a list of all the marketing stuff they need to start with, and then just prioritize which of the three most important things you need to start with. The trouble with a really long to-do list is it can just be very overwhelming and depressing. You don't want to do any of it,
Yeah.
So I break it down into little steps. So by the time they leave my office, they've just got a few little action items with, and it's silly stuff. It's like, okay, step one of the mailing list is I'm just going to go through those scraps of paper that are, on a pile of my desk with email addresses on them and put them all together in one spot. Okay, I can do that, So that's so the first thing was too many ideas in general. The second thing was too many marketing plans, which we do. And the third thing is just remembering and being reminded that it's a slow, long process. That
Yes.
Being successful it's years of work, and just knowing that, because some people are very impatient and they want to see things happening really fast. And the truth is, it's much better if the growth is just slow and steady.
Yes.
Because then by the time you get bigger, all that slow and steady growth, it's a strong structure then.
Yes, I think that's very wise advice. Actually, when you were talking, and I wrote a tagline for you. I'm calling it Clarity Through Writing.
That's great. I'm
Yeah.
going to write that down.
I think that's what you're doing. I think that getting clear is such an important thing, and that's part of your too many ideas, too many projects, wanting it now, and, saying, hey, let's do it a little more in depth of what we're going after here, and spend enough time on it that we get clear about what you want.
Right.
And I'm sure that slowing people down so that they can get the flavor of things as they experience them, rather than saying, oh, I'll look at that later, and never getting back to looking at it.
Yeah.
So if an artist or a business person hires you to coach them, how do you work with them? Are you in one-on-one, or do you work with groups? What do you do?
Actually, I do both. When business people come to me, they either come to me in two different ways. One is they personally know they just need help doing presentations. And then the most useful thing for them is to do one-on-one. And like I said before, if they come to me with an upcoming speech or presentation they need to make, that's what we'll work on.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of thing that when you talk about it in theory, it's kind of like talking about exercise in theory. We could talk about sit-ups forever, but my abs aren't going to get any stronger if we're just talking about it,
Right.
So coming and actually working on something is really the most helpful thing. Because then I can also see what they're already good at. because they're already good at a few things. I just want to note it for them so they know they're already good at these things, and then we'll work on the stuff that they need to get a little bit better at. But sometimes the business person comes to me and they want me to come into their company and do a workshop for a group. So then I'll actually teach a workshop, and again, that's some theory about how to make a great presentation. But then I also have everyone get up and do something, because that's really where they learn.
Yeah.
So that could be really fun, because for example, if someone's having trouble, like they get interrupted a lot at meetings or whatever, and they don't know how to kind of get the microphone back, we'll like reenact the meeting, and we'll be the worst meeting people. Strategies for how to deal with that. So it's a lot of fun.
It must be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great.
That's great.
It's like putting on a little play.
Yeah. See, you like that improv.
Yeah, the improv, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. I'm sure that people really benefit from all of this, and are able to strengthen their skill set and be more mindful, and therefore go forward and get the success they're looking for when they're seeking to be heard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one way or the other.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I work with artists, I also have both a one-on-one approach and a group approach. Artists can come see me one-on-one for all the things we've already talked about. But I also run these things called the Artist and Writer Circle, and those I do at my office. And that's 6 artists and writers who get together for 3 months, and we meet twice a month. And there, it's only advanced professional level artists and writers who are coming together, and everyone's got a project. So somebody's project could be, I want to finish my novel. Somebody else's project could be, I got to market an art show coming up. So it's really fun there is we all work on everyone's project there. And,
great.
So those are people who already know what their creative calling is, but they just want to take it a little bit further. And it's fun because it's a combination of artists and writers. So,
that's fabulous.
Because sometimes artists say, it's easy to be a writer. Sometimes writers say, it's so easy to be an artist. And then they meet each other and they realize that everyone's got
everyone is struggling. Yes.
Yeah.
And you are right that we do kind of tend to discount someone else's journey, knowing that ours is really hard and complex, but theirs must be easy.
Right. Which is never true.
I'm thinking about your artists and writers circle also, and likening that to the Better, Smarter, Richer study groups and cohorts that we have. And to me, one of the joys of those is that the group coaches, it's not just me coaching, the group coaches the members of the group. So, they provide resources, and they also sometimes are a little more vigilant at holding people's toes to the fire and holding them accountable. I might slip for a moment and just be into the sympathy of dealing with the buts and the challenges and the stories, and someone else in the group says, hey, wait a minute, you told us last week that you were going to blah, blah, blah. What happened to that? And they will hold each other accountable, sometimes even before I do. And it's really great. You get a cohort going together, a group going together, and they really do help one another and move people along. Fabulous system. I'm sure you're seeing that as well. So I'm going to come back to Portland, and you came from Paris to Portland. It sounds like that might have been a bit of a shock. And but what differences do you see in cities that strongly support their artists and those that do not?
Sometimes artists, especially when I teach in New York, sometimes artists will ask me, am I better off moving to somewhere else out of New York? Will I find, what will the gains and the losses be? And of course, everyone needs to make their own decision. You think, wouldn't it be great to be an artist in New York? And the truth is, it's hard to be an artist in New York because spaces are so expensive and there's so much competition. You could also say there's more opportunity. So I think it just really, really depends on somebody's their makeup, what they want. Some artists I coach in New York, that's the only place they'd ever want to be. They just feel so out of out of the game if they were living anywhere else. And other people I coach in Portland, it's so perfect for them because they've got this nice studio space, they've got this more relaxed life, and then they can always go to New York for, for times to kind of get that really urban environment. So I think it just really comes down to finding the right match for you. And nowadays, it almost doesn't matter where you live because everybody has access to everything that's going on everywhere.
Yeah.
So, and you can always decide you're going to do a residency in New York City if that's what you want to do. Either one you get or one you self-design yourself. So I think in a way we have a lot more freedom with where we can actually ground ourselves because every place is just so much more accessible.
Yes. I said the Internet has made geography irrelevant.
Really, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But there still are, local things that make art either more appreciated or less appreciated. And I think where we are, art is greatly appreciated. Although I don't think we have a strong money-making mindset about it. I think there's a lot of scarcity thinking that goes on here, and people have to overcome that, that they think there's an expectation that they should give things away rather than charging real money for it. And
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, on the other hand, people will come to you and say, oh, well, because you love doing this, you're going to love doing this for free. And it's like, would you say that to an accountant, Probably wouldn't,
Yeah, exactly.
I think if the work is really good and you really work on marketing, you're going to make it. I really think that's what it comes down to.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
And I do think that the support groups are important. So I'm going to talk to people about your Artists and Writers Circle. I think that's incredibly important for people. Yeah, they need that. They need a group that holds them accountable, and it's a combination of having empathy and sympathy and accountability. Someone that understands your struggles and isn't going to let you make them an excuse for not getting something done.
Right. And sometimes then we can say, well, why didn't you get it done? And realize, because it was the wrong thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So great. Let's get that off the list.
Yes.
So I myself am in groups, and I couldn't live without them. I just love them.
Yeah. It's really great to have people who know you and see you.
Yeah.
They really appreciate you and see who you are and help you achieve your goals and objectives.
Yes.
That's what they really want to do.
I just got an email from one of the women in one of my groups, and she wanted to comment on about something she thought I could be doing better with my blog. It doesn't matter what it is. But the email began, because I'm invested in your success, I just noticed blah, 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 blah. Oh, my God. I love that. And that's what it is. It's a group of people who are invested in your success. And, what could be better than that, So
yes.
The groups are really great.
Yes, I think they are, too. I think that's really a good way to go. And I love that sentence. I'm busy writing it down. Invested in your success. That's fabulous. So do you think we're helping enough young people get started in art and creative lives? Are we supporting their exploration as we should?
I think the funding in the schools is just absolutely appalling. So I couldn't say enough about that. And I think colleges and universities are getting a little bit better about doing more marketing. I think that's happening more recently, and there's certainly more artist coaches out there offering some good help and programs and stuff like that. And I think, the more people who get successful and can be models for what people can do is very exciting and certainly motivating. So,
yes.
But in terms of public school right now, it's very sad about the state of things at this point.
The reason, Gigi, that I kind of feel a sense of urgency about it is that I'm convinced that as a society, as a species, we've gotten ourselves in some pretty ugly messes, and that we need new thinking applied to them if we are going to find solutions or ways through them. And I think that the artists and the creatives tend to bring that new kind of thinking, that, it's not the linear thinking that we've admired for so long. It's the more broad-based thinking, the more out-of-the-box thinking, the more creative thinking that we need to apply to some of the things, because we can't just keep doing the same old things louder and harder and expect them to solve themselves.
Right.
I think we need to look at them differently, and that, to me, is one of the reasons why we really need to promote and support and nurture, I guess my word would be nurture, different thinking than the norm. Because I think that's where some of the solutions will be, and I think that the creativity isn't just going to show up in the way we traditionally do art, but it's going to show up in maybe the way we do science and the way we do engineering and the way we look for new materials and the way we seek answers to our energy problems as going to come from what we would traditionally think as artists. And I'm not sure we're looking at it that way yet. But that's where I think it's going to come from, as people who aren't structured in the same way, as our scientific thinking is structured.
Right.
It's kind of an intuition that I have about why it's so important, and I don't see that happening.
Right.
And
the other thing I really believe is that art definitely saves lives. I think, when kids have that self-expression of being in a play or drawing a painting or singing a song, it's how we make sense of our life,
Yes.
So I think a lot more people end up in prison and places when they don't have those creative outlets,
Yes.
So
yes.
It's the art educators who are often artists themselves and who know and artists save their life too. That are the ones we need now. I think that's really.
Well, I think I've told you before that I've talked to many women particularly, but many artists in the middle of their lives who are at last getting ready to pursue an art career or their art or bring their art forward that they've never done before in their lives, and are being told things, or at least used to be told things like, it's never going to support you, you need to get a degree in marketing or business or biology or some such thing, and you're never going to make a living at it, and no, you can't charge that much for it, and I just think that's terrible. And there's this whole scarcity thinking of you're never going to find security if you pursue a career in art. And, I come back and say, you think you've got security if you've got a job with a big company? Come on, look around. Haven't you noticed what's been going on in the last 10 years? Yeah. And, there's just that old mindset that still exists out there, and people are tentatively moving forward to follow their dream and follow their passion, and I think you and I are both trying to help that take root and be successful. Big work.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. So in your own business, are you looking to expand your business, or it's just right now? Are you looking for other ways to expand it and grow it?
I'm always looking for expansion, just because when somebody comes to see me, there's always an influx and an outflux of clients and workshops and stuff. And as you know, with a solo business owner, the marketing is never done. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think I'm always in expansion mode, but I'm not thinking of hiring other employees. Though I love having working on my own and that kind of stuff. But I'm always looking to grow myself, and the way I keep things exciting for myself is to always be improving and thinking of new ideas. So I feel like it's always in a growing mode.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're not thinking of adding employees. Here on Solo Pro Radio, we're talking about people being successful as solos.
And I love working with consultants. Having somebody come in who's an expert in something, it's heaven.
Yes. This is fabulous, isn't it? This is a fabulous way, and solopreneurship is certainly growing, and it serves a lot of needs that way. It gives you both the meeting with and interaction with other people, and the ability to work mostly on the things that make your heart sing, which is so important. Yeah. So, Gigi, I just absolutely love talking with you, and I know we have listeners who'd love to contact you. So, how can they get hold of you?
So probably the easiest thing to do is, if you want to get a little more information about me and also know how to contact me, is you can go to my website, and it's gigirosenberg.com. So that's GIGIROSENBERG. I'll have another artist and writer circle starting up in the fall, so I can send you information about that. And I also do one-on-one coaching all year long, so I can also send you information about that. And there's tons of free resources, and I do a monthly newsletter that you can sign up for, and a weekly blog. And but you'll find a lot of goodies on the website, and also a way to contact me. So,
and don't forget to check out her book. You know, because what we've learned is this isn't, you know, a yellow pages and phone book of lists of places to find grants. This is a process of writing and, you know, getting clarity about what it is you want and about your project so that you can fit in the right place. So.
And the process applies to way more than just grants. It's really how to define what it is that you want to do. And there's lots of great exercises in it. It's very interactive. So that's the Artist Guide to Grant Writing. And I know Powell's has some copies, downtown Portland, and Amazon, and, you know, all those other. I like to support the few bookstores we have left, but Amazon has it also.
Great. Well, Gigi, again, thank you for being on today. I've just loved it.
Yes.
And I want to remind our listeners that this is Jackie B. Peterson. I'm the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solo and Creative Entrepreneurs, and that I hope you will go check out my website, bettersmarterricher.com, and you can download my free ebook outlining the 7 business principles. You can certainly buy the book, which is a fill-in-the-blanks workbook, which takes you on a journey of changing your thinking so that you are better able to find the financial success you are seeking. There's also some online courses. One of them that's the most popular people like is How to Charge What You Are Worth. And you can take the online course of Better, Smarter, Richer, kind of like just being in a study group with other practitioners. So please tune in next week for Solo Pro Radio. My guest is going to be Coca's Foot Fix, who's going to talk to us about reflexology. And she says reflexology can heal your entire body. I know we're going to have another interesting conversation. So thank you for tuning in today, and I hope to have you with us next week. Goodbye.
Conference recording stopped.
Great.